What's happening, bunnies? Today's video is a really exciting one for me because we're looking at an unusual comp, something that is a bit experimental. It's a Rook 8 or Rook 9 level gameplay, and we're actually looking at dragons and assassins. I believe it turns out to be a dragon feathered assassin kind of build, and it's not something that I would usually play. So hope you guys can pick up something and maybe utilize this framework for your own comps. And if you do enjoy it, don't forget to hit that like button and drop a subscribe. We'll check you in the gameplay. Enjoy. What's happening, bunnies? And man, oh man, do we have a game for you today. This is a phenomenal match. I'm really excited to share this one with you guys because we decided to try something different. And I don't know if you guys are aware, but a lot of the time we tend to take our meta strategies and our compositions of what we read from other streamers and what we pick up from YouTube videos, and the question is, how do those metacomps come into being? And that's because of experimentation. And today is an experimentation video that I wanted to share with you guys. It's a comp that you don't see a lot, and whether or not it's a great comp, we'll find out. I think there might be levels of inconsistency within this, but it's something different. It's something you hopefully haven't seen too much of, and because of that, I think you're going to enjoy it. We are looking today at a dragon assassin comp, and the reason that we moved into that was because of Venom. So what you'll notice a lot with dragon comps is that you tend to utilize your 3 standard dragons, and then you'll work off the other synergies such as mage, which is obviously a big one, and knights, which is the other big one. So you often get dragon mage and dragon knight synergies, but the one synergy you don't use a lot is the assassin synergy, which is what you get with Venom. So the idea here was to look at at Venom and see if we can build dragons with assassins and maybe get 6 assassins plus the 3 dragons and 1 or 2 support pieces. And that's basically what we managed to try and do with this comp. So let's see how it plays out. What you'll also notice is that when we started this match, based on the plays that we picked up, this wasn't a forced composition. It wasn't something that we actually had planned. We were again just experimenting, but we were initially going with a sort of more generic branching type opening comp where we leave multiple options open. So you'll see we have a warrior on the board, we have our taboo there for potential feathered synergies, we do have shadow crawler to go with the taboo, potentially going for feathered assassin, and we have Egasus for feather hunter. So we kept it open. We have our mech comp as well, so potentially if we started picking up a lot of the other goblins, we could actually go for goblin gamble, but we didn't have any plan to go into dragon assassin at this stage. And you'll see the turning point quite early on in the match when we make that decision. So at this stage we're just trying to build something strong, but we don't pick up a lot of 2-star units, and so because of that we don't really have a direction with which we want to branch into. We do pick up the Venom there, and you'll see we took quite a while to make a decision in terms of what we wanted to do, but we picked up the Venom because we already have 2 other assassins on the bench, and we wanted to try and start winning. We were losing our matches. You'll see it's round 5, we lost round 4, and we wanted to try and prevent having to go into a lose streak, because I prefer running win streak than lose streak. But unfortunately there's teams that have picked up 2-star units already. We haven't picked up any. We also don't have any reasonable synergies going on, so our team's actually quite weak. We haven't managed to pick up something that's going to help drive us through the early rounds, and as a result we are forced to start considering a lose streak at this stage. And as you can see, we are blessed with assassins and not much else. So we get an abyssal there, but we haven't picked up any other warriors. We have the whispers here, so potentially there was a feathered assassin build that could go here. and then obviously the Desperate Doctor, but we have had nothing in the Glacier Knight range to work with, so we weren't going to be running that. We don't have Warlock synergies to tap into for the Desperate Doc either, so we're still at that stage where we really don't have much to work with, and it seems like it's going to be Assassins. So we pick up the Assassins. I also think at this stage we're still losing and we're expecting to lose and going to a lose streak, but at this stage we weren't aware of potentially moving into dragon synergies. So again, there will be another turning point or a branching point in this match that we'll pick up later when we get there. What's interesting here though, having a look at everyone else, we only have one other assassin player, and that's useful for us. It would have been even better if we managed to be the only assassin team, because then we wouldn't be fighting over pieces, and the pool would be nice and concentrated for us to pick up the different units that we wanted. I love putting Phantom Queen just behind the front line. You'll notice from a DPS perspective, and maybe we'll pick it up in this game, but I don't think so because she's being distracted by the Soulbreaker, but her DPS stats are unbelievably high compared to some of the other units we have. Our Soulbreaker is 2-star, and he's still getting less DPS off than she was, and she didn't even hit all the players that she could have. So although we're on a losing streak, just sort of side note, Phantom Queen on the front line, good player to have early rounds. We're losing quite heavily though. I mean, this guy did have a 2-star Skybreaker as well as the Fallen Witcher, and so we weren't really going to be winning that anytime soon. Yeah, we pick up another Venom and a Soulbreaker. Generally, when I run Assassins, if I'm going like 6 Assassin, Venom's not part of that composition. I don't find him to be that useful an Assassin, and so I actually generally wouldn't use him. But I think the fact that the shop gave me another one made me consider using him as more of a central piece than I normally would. And this again is where you start considering branching into synergies that could work with this. And because he is dragon, if the shop provides dragons, that thought process would then be directed in towards the alternative synergy, which is not something that you would normally see dragons with assassins. Okay, we do win that match. That's against our Russian friend, and I don't know if that's good or not. I think we would like to have actually lost a few more rounds to build our econ up, but we were spending money. So maybe getting off the lose streak now is okay, but it's probably better not to be middling and rather just stay on the lose streak. So not ideal that we won that match. It might have made more sense actually to just take players off the board and force the loss, but I think unfortunately we were losing quite heavily against some of the teams, and so our HP was dropping quicker than we would have liked. So now we're playing a very different strategy, which is to try and start winning games, but we don't have the pieces to do that. So sort of making a late game comeback or a mid game comeback now is definitely not going to happen. So we forced back into lose streak, and that's not a good win for us. This might be a turning point with the Dragonite. I'm not sure if we picked it up just yet because it is rock columns and we are on 10 econ. So I think we've kept the shop open here because we're thinking about whether or not we want to lock in that dragon and potentially either do a full transition into a dragon comp with something else like mages or knights, or see if we can squash dragons in with the assassins. And I think that's a thought process that was happening during that shop. But obviously it's rock columns now, so we don't want to spend too much money. And instead we're having a look to see what everyone else is running, to see if there are other dragons on the board and also what's happening with the other assassin player. I think we're fortunate here to actually win this round. Our team wasn't strong, but the 2-star Soulbreaker came through with the clutch there, so that's good news for us. Even when you lose streaking, you've got to beat your creep rounds because you get items that can be really clutch for you in the late game, and we managed to do that quite well. Alright, so Shining Assassin, huge piece for us here, and you'll see there's the Shining Dragon there as well.
Let my enemies trample
we skipped on the Dragon Knight and we skipped on the Shining Dragon, which means that at this stage we still hadn't made the decision to transition. We're still working with what we have, and I think what really gave us trouble here was the fact that our front line wasn't getting any 2-star units. So we weren't picking up the swordsman we needed. Our Skybreaker and our Heavens Bomber are sitting on 1-star, and they're just being crushed by all the other teams, which doesn't give our assassins the time they need to inflict the DPS on the back line. And that's what's causing us to lose the way that we are. Fortunately, we do have the 2-star Soulbreaker, and that actually comes in clutch quite a lot. You'll see in this match we should 100% have lost this round, and we pick it up just due to that clutch. Again, not picking up anything strong. We might pick up the Pirate to swap with the Swordman. That could have been an option or a play, but I think we were worried about Econ here. We're in a really dodgy position at the moment. HP is not in a great place. We're not on any streak, and our Econ is sort of very wishy-washy. So I'm not comfortable with where we are, and I think that's why there was a decision made to try something different. Because sometimes you reach a point in a match where you're just going to be coming like 7th, 8th, or 6th even, and you either need to take the loss on the chin and say, well, look, I'm going to lose this match because I didn't get a good early start and I haven't played it out well, or you need to say, let's go out on a limb. Let's try something completely different and strange, and maybe it's something that the other guys haven't seen and they don't know how to deal with it, and it actually pulls you through the match. So that's kind of, I think, what happened in this match. You'll see now we have the Heaven Bomber, we have the Ripper, so potentially we could have gotten rid of the Swordman and built up on sort of the Goblin synergy we have, but it's already round 13. You don't want to be transitioning into a Goblin mech synergy at round 13. That's really more of a level 4 sort of type build, where you want to be getting those pieces early on in the game.
Out of the way! That meal is mine!
Okay, so we make a big call. This is a big call moment for us, where we decide to get rid of our entire front line and just push 6 assassins so that we can get our critical hit ratio up with the buff, and and sort of again test the waters. Things are not working out, so we need to make substantial changes, and this is one of them that we decide to do. We try to say, okay, what can we do to try and make a change here? What can we do to try and clutch this match, because whatever we're doing is not working and we need to make a change. And I think that's where this decision came in. And as you can see, although we're playing the bottom player, our Russian friend there, we do manage to take the match. It is a close one, but potentially this is a better decision than having those really weak frontline units, where we could have 6 assassin units who, in all fairness, are also not strong, but it's just a different strategy to what we had going, and that's kind of where we went with this. So now we're up against Wolfpack. We've been fortunate enough to have the patience to build our economy. I think we could have been doing quite a lot of rolling and potentially going to low roll situation and not pick up anything, and then have no economy. But we played an economy game here, and I think that was what was important for us. If you look at the top players, Vlado is sitting on 17 econ. Blank, although he's on a win streak, has no econ. He's also leveled to level 7 already, and so if we build our econ now, it might not be too late to actually still make a comeback later game, and that's kind of what we're pushing for right now. There's only a couple of players who are playing econ well, and the rest are sort of struggling along a little bit, and I think that's also a game changer in this instance. We managed to beat Wolfpack, which I was honestly a little bit surprised about, simply because, I mean, I think we only had 1, maybe 2 2-star units. The rest are all 1-star. So we have a pretty weak team, and the fact that we managed to beat Wolfpack with them was surprising to me. Maybe Shining Assassin came in clutch there as well. And we pick up the 2-star Venom, so that's good news for us. Again, this is another one of those changes that could make you start thinking, if I have to transition and get another synergy on the board, what would it be? Well, I already have a 2-star Venom, so if I can pick up some of the other dragons, that might actually be something different for us to try out. The other thing to think about with dragons is that you have Shining Dragon, and Shining Dragon has a 3 synergy potential. Not only are they dragon and mage, but they also have feathered. And why is that important? That's important because if I decide to go into dragons, I don't just want to have dragons and assassins. I need something extra, and I need to consider what other synergies might be provided through that comp. And using Shining Dragon means that I get feathered. And I know that in my assassin comp, I have 2 feathered units. I have Shadow Crawler and I have Shining Assassin, which means that I will then have a 3rd feathered unit on the board. And that could actually be really useful, because having assassins with a feathered synergy we already know is strong, because we play feathered assassin comps. So now we're not only thinking about having 6 assassins and some dragons, we're thinking about having dragons with assassins and a feathered synergy. And now it starts to become a little bit more exciting, a little bit more powerful. And that's why this comp like really, you know, felt good for me. I was really excited to try this out. Okay, so we're actually up against the other assassin team, which we haven't really played a lot against, and we come out on top, which is helpful and exciting for us because we didn't expect it. We haven't been picking up abyssals, so I think that's why we got rid of that now. We already have our 6 assassins, so now it's about building synergies around the assassin synergy and seeing what the shot provides, and trying to build up the abyssal after we're not getting any of them. A 1-star abyssal is going to do nothing for us, so rather just get rid of it at that stage. Alright, so this is also another thinking round for us. We spend quite a lot of time considering what are we going to pick up here, and this is the turning point. This is where the decision was made. Let's maybe try dragons. Okay, we have a God of War on the front of the line here. It's a 1-star, so it's not going to be doing much. But in an assassin build, that frontline unit is just a distraction unit, so that everyone on the opposing team can cluster around the God of War. Your assassins can jump to the back and get all the DPS from the back line. But a 1-star God of War versus a 1-star dragon, I think the Dragon Knight is probably a better option at this stage, simply because if you do manage to get the shining dragon in, which we do this round, what it will mean is your dragon's going to ultimate immediately, and then he becomes a stronger frontline unit to use as a distraction rather than the 1-star God of War. Fortunately here we do get the 2-star God of War, so now we can keep him in the comp for now, because he'll be nice and tanky on the front and he'll provide the distraction that we want for our assassins. But it also means we have a nice place to position our Phantom Queen. So as I mentioned in many videos, Phantom Queen on the front line, really strong. Watch the DPS meter and you'll see that as she gets her ults off, her DPS is just super high. Look at that compared to all the other units, right? Her DPS is sitting like at 2,500, super strong, and she's one that you want to keep. So when I build assassins, I always have a Phantom Queen in there if possible. She might not be everyone's favorite character, but she's definitely one that I like to play with, especially in the mid game, the early and mid game.
Wait for my signal and play it by ear.
Right, so now quality is key. We need to start pushing quality. Having 1-star assassins, we've been fortunate enough to get back on a win streak, but having 1-star assassins is not going to get us anywhere late game. So we need to make sure that we start using the economy that we've accumulated. As you can see, we're top of the economy at the moment, and considering we're in the middle of the pack and we're not sitting at the bottom on a losing streak with high economy but no HP, we're in a bit of a better position than we were. and the turning point was when we took off our front line and put 6 assassins on the board. So just a learning point for me as well. I've always been stuck on, if you're building assassins, you have to have a frontline unit. You don't, right? It's always useful to have, and that's why we put one in now. But if worst comes to worst, and you're getting really crappy frontline units that are 1-star and are not doing any difference, rather put on your 6 assassins in the early game and wait till later game to build up what you need to. Okay, so this is interesting. We're rolling down now to try and pick up some more quality units. At this stage, we've realized we're going dragons. So because of that, we pick up the Shining Dragon, we pick up the Dragon Knight, and now we need to start getting the quality of our units up. And also, we need to make sure we have econ to get to level 9. So we did level to level 8 at round 21, which is exactly what you want to be aiming for. Which means that we will not fall behind in terms of the number of players on the board or pieces on the board, and we can try and maintain our win streak. We've got a good thing going in terms of the win streak, and we want to maintain that. We want to maintain that and make sure that we keep going in that direction. Another Venom, I'm not sure if we're going to pick that up because we're not looking to go to 3-star. We don't pick it up, which makes sense to me. What would be awesome right now is if we picked up some more dragon units. But the most important piece of our comp at the moment is our backline, our assassin line. So we need to get those 1-stars out of there and make sure we get them to 2-star as soon as possible. So if you think about it, you know, you're running 6 assassins, one of them is a Venom, which means if you've got all 3 dragons in, you've actually got 8 pieces, right? The 9th piece for us is still the God of War, and the reason for that is quite simple. When you're running assassins, we still want to have some sort of a frontline distraction unit, as we mentioned. Now your dragons actually generally sit on the back line. When they ultimate, they're not your frontline tank units in this comp. So they'll be getting their ultimates off from the back line, potentially in a corner sort of setup. And so we keep the God of War in sort of as our 9th unit, our supporter unit on top of our 8-man comp. And that again is just to provide that tankiness on the front line, which gives Venom, it gives your Shining Dragon, and it gives your Dragon Knight the opportunity to get their DPS scores up. Gives them time to inflict damage whilst the God of War takes all the damage from the opposing team. And obviously, as we all know, Shining Assassin, even at a 2-star, is a clutch unit. So we do lose to the other assassin team here, and that's Vlado, who's actually sitting on top of the board. And that's a tricky one for us because they're running the same comp as us, and we need to make sure that we have the stronger version of the comp. And so we actually make a call here to spend a bit of extra econ and get the dragon synergy built. As such, we need to reposition because our Shining Dragon is going to die really quickly at 1-star. But the idea here is, let's get the dragon composition in and see if we can actually work with dragon, feathered, and assassin in a comp. And hopefully we start seeing results. That's kind of what we're hoping to see here. So again, exactly what I mentioned earlier. Our backline units, our backline dragons actually used the God of War there to allow them to get their DPS off before the enemy managed to get to the backline. So the God of War is really important at this stage of the strat until you can get your Dragon Knight to a 2-star and he can be tanky by himself. Everyone might be thinking, well, why do you want a God of War in this comp? It doesn't fit in. It kind of does, because you need to protect your dragons for a while until they're strong enough to look after themselves, especially the Shining Dragon. And so what we've done is we've put the Phantom Queen, but more importantly the God of War there to block all the frontline units of the opposition from getting to the back and destroying our units. So interesting comp here. It's quite nice to watch because it's something that I haven't done before and something that I would like to try and build on for future builds. This is definitely something that I think with a little bit of rework, a little bit of molding, a little bit of sort of agility and change, we might actually be able to come up with a comp here that is quite meta. Let's see how it goes.
Hold a candle to my power.
What's interesting here is we're on round 26. We still have 4 1-star units on the board, and we're still doing reasonably well. We're winning most of our games. This is a Feather Druid, Feather Druid Assassin build, and they're going to be tough for us to beat. Now you can see that their Warpwood Sage has got to our backline, and that's why, you know, we wanted the protection there with the God of War. We do manage to clutch through there, and that's because our assassins are super strong on the backline there with the Shining Assassin and the Soulbreaker. But if it wasn't for them, we could have lost that match if we didn't have a God of War there. Alright, so very important to pick up the Dragon Knight now. Earlier we did roll down, I think, to 20, which means that it was imperative that we actually re-economize and get back up to 50 as soon as possible, because if you look at what the other teams are doing, their economy is in a reasonable position, with the exception maybe of our second place player and our last place player. But if you don't have economy coming into late game and you're still building up your comp, you're going to be in serious trouble. So as you can see here, our assassins coming in clutch. They do have the 2-star Zerker, and that's always a troubling unit to be up against, but our Shining Assassin and our Venom do well there. Also, the fact that Venom gets his ult off so quickly because of the Dragon synergy is going to help him as a DPS unit. Second Shining Dragon, definitely a useful piece. Obviously we were pausing here to consider the options of a God of Thunder and what we might do with it, but it's not part of this comp. It's not something that we could potentially put in now without losing some of the other synergies. Maybe getting rid of the God of War, but I don't think it's the right call. I think the God of War is providing actually quite a useful function at this stage of the game. We do pick up our second dragon there, our Shining Dragon, so we're only one away. If we get a Shining Egg here, we could potentially get our Dragon Knight up to 2-star, and that's going to change the game a lot. And then obviously we want our Shining Dragon to be more powerful, especially against another assassin team like this. They are going to jump to the back line and they are going to kill your Shining Dragon really quickly, and they're then going to be a distraction for your Dragon Knight as well. So you want to try and avoid that, and that's again why it's so important to level those units up as soon as possible. So we roll down a little bit, see what we can pick up. Bit unfortunate in those rolls. I think the shop in general in this match has not been on our side. I mean, you saw in the early rounds how we were struggling to get pieces, couldn't get any synergies going. We had to go into the sort of alternative strategy, and then similarly we actually had to like completely change our strategy into dragons because we just weren't picking up the units that we needed to make this work. This is David, and he's got a Dark Spirit as well. So Dark Spirit's going to be troubling again, especially because, as you can see here, he ults in the corner, and that's where our weakest units are. So a bit unfortunate for that one. Luckily, our 2 clutch pieces come in again. That's our Venom and our Shining Assassin, and they come in and clutch the round for us. So we're hanging in there by a thread, but it's all we need to be doing right now. We did do quite a heavy roll last round to get down to 20 econ, and as a result of that we managed to pick up a couple of pieces. We did 2-star Shining Dragon, so that's great, but we definitely want to get a 2-star Dragon Knight on the board as soon as possible. And in most assassin games you actually want a 3-star Shadow Crawler, and this just shows you how crappy the shop has been. We still have a 1-star Shadow Crawler, Not much hope of getting that to 3-star at this stage, but you know, let's see how the game progresses. Should be okay here against this creep round. Nothing too heavy to worry about. And we pick up the Mysterial Staff, and that's extremely useful. We are now souping up our Phantom Queen because we're looking to push her to 3-star. If we're not getting a 3-star Shadow Crawler, then I definitely want to try and get the Phantom Queen to 3-star. And that's why I'm pushing for that. There's a nice clutch moment for us. This is definitely a POG moment.
Nothing is true.
Getting the 2-star Dragonite is going to help us with our tankiness for the backline. And now our backline looks a lot stronger. Having the 2-star Venom there, having the 2-star Dragonite means our Shining Dragon is a bit better protected, and the God of War is still going to distract on the front line, which gives our assassins time to move into the back and pick up the DPS that they require. This is where you'll notice the difference, because look at the Phantom Queen, how the DPS from the Phantom Queen completely assassinated, you know, the back row of this unit. The 2-star Dragon as well was just such a driving force on the backline there. And so even when we're facing the other assassin team, we can now be comfortable that we're not going to be completely annihilated on our backline. We have a good, strong setup there. So it seems to be working out quite well at this stage. Okay, this team that we're up against now, it's one of the sort of standard meta comps at the moment, you know, going sort of a feather assassin or feather, any feather druid sort of build, and their quality is really high. So I mean, we had quite a few 3-star units there, and that's why I'm having a look to see sort of what they're all about. So at this stage, they want to worry about. We do clutch through it though, and the reason we do is because we managed to utilize our dragons. Our dragons is what actually clutched that round. You'll notice everyone else died, but our Dragon Knight managed to survive and help clutch that for us. I make a call here to level up. So you'll see I rolled all the way to level 10 just to get the other God of War on board. And the reason for that is we've reached top of the lobby, but our HP is still low, and the matches are still quite close. You can see here, although we're winning some matches, we're only barely winning some of them, and I think having that extra bit of tankiness in the front line, just again to prolong the duration of the distraction, so that our assassins can get more time to DPS from the back. That's kind of what you're going for there. So having 2 Gods of War allows us to have the opposition's front line spend more time trying to break through there. And that gives us time to inflict damage using not only our assassin backline, but our dragons as well. So now we're souping up our characters. We're getting our Dragonite piece really strong, and we're definitely going to need that for these late rounds as we move into the end games. This is Lorik. Lorik's on a substantial win streak now, and he's the one we were talking about with the feather assassin build. And as you can see here, much stronger, much stronger. Fortunately, the Dragon Comp comes into play here, and that helps us survive a bit longer because our Dragonite is really tanky. But he does have the 3-star Lightning Blade, and that's always going to be tricky for us. So now we're in a difficult position. We don't have great econ, we don't have any 3-star units, and we're losing matches. So we need to make decisions as to how we can actually try and change this up, right? We do spend quite a lot here, and we do it on a creep round, which is not ideal. But what we decide to do is pick up the other Dragonite and actually 2-star him and swap him out for the God of War. We could potentially have put the second God of War back on the bench in case we could 3-star the God of War that we have there. But having 2-star Dragonites is absolutely worth it when you're sort of struggling
Enemy's
to
just a candle in the wind.
cross that line from winning and losing when it's like really close matches. We also pick up some really nice items here, which helps us a little bit, but our econ's not in a good place. You can see Lorik's still got 35 econ, so he's in a decent position. It might also have been nice to get Heaven's Gift here, especially around our dragon units, but I don't think we managed to pick up the items we needed for that. Okay, so we reposition here. Again, this is to try and keep the distraction quite far away from the dragons, which gives our Dragon Knights time to inflict damage. Remember, because they're ultimating, they're hitting their ultimates immediately, they become ranged units. So we don't need them to be on the front line. They can attack from quite far away. Here we reach a big issue, and the big issue is that they've got a Dark Spirit and a Storm Shaman, and we've got a clustered build. So the positioning of our dragons is in a clustered corner. So when they hit with the Dark Spirit, when they hit with the Storm Shaman, it's going to affect all of our key strong units, and because of that, we actually lose to them. Fortunately for us, Lorik beats David on his board, and he actually gets knocked out, which means we're down to a one-on-one, because potentially that could have been a knockout for us if we had to go into that again. And the other fortunate thing is that we pick up some really nice items here. So now we're just stacking. We don't have much econ. There's not much that we can work towards here. Potentially a 3-star Soul Breaker, but with our econ so low, we decide to spend our time on getting our items set up as opposed to buying new pieces. You only have, I think, 30 seconds in between rounds to prepare, so how you utilize those 30 seconds is absolutely key here, and this could be the end for us. We're going to lose quite heavily here, and we do. So Lorik takes the win here. We rank in at second. I think it was still an amazing game for me, and that's what I wanted to bring this message over. Even though we came second, we also hit Rook 9 here, so that's great. Even though we came second, it was a completely alternative comp, right? It's something that you don't see every day. Also, we were up against quite a range of other different comps, and we still managed to beat a lot of them. You'll see that there's quite a variety of different comps here, and we did well against all of them. So definitely a comp to look out for in the future. I think if we had started building this comp and known we were going into that comp earlier in the game, we would have been able to build it stronger and have higher quality, and we could have won this match. But I hope you guys enjoyed it either way. It was a good one for me. I really had a good time with it, and I will definitely be trying to work on a better version of that comp going into future rounds. Now that I know that it might actually be usable, it might be something that could become a strong comp in future games. So thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed or learned something new today, please don't forget to drop a like and hit that subscribe button. It means the world to us to have more followers. And your support is, it's everything to us. So thank you again, and we will catch you in the next video. Cheers, enjoy.